And welcome back. So we are back at the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading Card Game European Championship live from Antwerp. Apologies to those of you watching at home. We've had some technical difficulties with our upload, but it seems like we've got all of that resolved. So fingers crossed we're going to have a nice, smooth stream for the rest of the content. So in round one, we obviously had our reigning European champion have a decisive 2-game victory there to win the match. So that is basically how that's gone. And we're now into our second round, where we have Herman Hansson versus Raphael Movsesian, and this is going to be a very, very exciting game, so make sure you guys stick around. I'm going to hand over the official dice roll to see which one of our two players is going to be going first. That's a 5. And that is that a 3? Okay, which one of you is going first? You're going to go first? Okay, Raphael Movsesian is going to go first, and with that, I'm going to pass you guys over to our wonderful casters. Sebastian and Leonard, over to you guys.
Thank you, Ed. I am flattered. That was such a lovely introduction. My name is Leonard König, as you already said, and this is Sebastian Lemke. We are hyped to entertain you guys for this next round of Swiss. Herman Hansson, what a big name. Raphael is going to kick the round off, but
for sure.
I think he's going to have a hard time.
Absolutely, like the name itself, like when you sit down in the featured match area, which is already putting pressure onto yourself, and then there's Herman Hansson across you, like if you're into Yu-Gi-Oh!, if you're into competitive Yu-Gi-Oh!, you know that name, because that guy is just topping everything. This guy is a machine from Sweden, and he's just very, very good at Yu-Gi-Oh!, let me tell you that. Former world's competitor, and definitely when it comes to technical gameplay, one of the best you will see. True, that as well, for sure.
And the pressure, I think he can Herman handle it.
So you're on team Herman, yeah?
Yeah, I think he's going to take this down. I think he's going to be in the top cut.
Also, we did not only put him into the feature match because of his name, but also because he's playing the second big deck, which we want to feature for this weekend, which is also new from Power of the Elements, which is
Tearlaments, and it is spicy.
For sure. So let's see what's happening in round 2 of this event. Let's get into it. As you said, Herman didn't win the die roll, but let's see whether he can win the match. Round 2 of the European Championship about to start, and we see that Raphael actually is starting it off with the Adventurer package of his deck.
Yeah. So there's one thing that I have seen in the decklist of Raphael, that is that he's playing Griffin, which is an all-time classic for adventure decks. But I think in this format, especially with like Dark Ruler No More and other board breaker cards like Super Polymerization, I think I do prefer the Illegal Knight.
It feels a little bit like that. Nobody even talked about the Illegal Knight. For the longest, it was just always Griffin Rider as your main adventurer engine output monster you put onto the board next to the token. Yeah. But now Illegal Knight seems a lot better and more viable going second, which makes me also believe that that is a better choice in the long run, for sure. But what do you think in general about the decision of actually running the Adventurer cards in the Sprite deck? Because we haven't seen pure Sprite yet. Round 1 we had Life Sprites, and now we have Adventurer Sprites. What do you think of this mix?
I do think that it is a little bit better than the Evil Twin one, the Live Twin deck.
All right.
But I do prefer... I mean, it gives the deck a higher ceiling, right? You basically take out your opportunity to really play the good normal summons like Nimble Beaver or Deep Sea Diva, because you cannot activate the effects of the monsters you normal summoned the turn you activated Rite of Aramesia.
Yeah.
But you still get an extra negate. You can play around hand traps better. But there are also 3 bricks.
Yeah. And I mean, I was always wondering, is that really the issue of the deck? Like, the deck performs so well versus hand traps. It's like usually playing through 1, even sometimes 2 hand traps without a problem, to be honest. And now you add another engine, which is just specifically designed to beat more of that. And I don't really know.
If you play the Illegal Knight, I think it has a different purpose.
Yes.
You know, you are way better at playing through boards. Also, it is crazy if you set it up on your turn. You can keep the Illegal Knight in hand, summon it, and then bounce half of your opponent's board. And
where are we going there? We're actually link summoning away the token there.
Okay.
Interesting.
So, he wants to summon back the Jet. That is really good. He did not have access to a Sprite engine.
Yes.
But by going into the Elf, he can just summon back the Sprite Jet and summon it to the field. Very interesting that he did not summon the Elf, the Jet into a zone that Elf points to, because then it would be protected by Veiler or Impermanence, a card which probably would have been thrown onto the activation of Elf, because now he can go into Gigantic Sprite anyway.
First of all that, and also maybe Raphael's actually already picking up on the hand gestures of Herman, because Herman honestly sits there very stoic, not even looking into his hand really, so it doesn't really seem like he has any kind of interruption on his opponent's turn. And let me tell you something, his main deck list doesn't actually provide any interruption on the opponent's turn, because he's just purely going for board breakers and not a single hand interaction is there in his deck, so there is nothing to happen in his opponent's turn.
That's, I guess you can say, a disadvantage of the Tearlaments deck, that running hand traps, especially if you're going with dangers, is not the best thing necessarily, because it really hurts your consistency. You want some power cards that you can mill, and you want the entire engine out.
Yeah. So for Raphael, it looked a little bit like an iffy start, because he had to take like an awkward route to even trigger the first Sprite effect, which was Sprite Jet. But now that he gets not interrupted at all, he can actually perform his pretty decent combo from there on. Because he now has Gigantic, he already has Red on board, so he's safe from multiple hand traps again. And yeah, there comes the Gigantic.
And let's hear them quawking. I don't think that's the appropriate English word for it. But there are the Froggos, probably.
Oh, he's considering it. Maybe he doesn't even go for the Frog here. Maybe he just wants to summon out Carrot to have like a Monster Negate and a Spell Trap Negate. I can see it. Let's see what Raphael goes to look.
I mean, Frog doesn't do anything. He already normal summoned and the Elf effect is out.
That's what it is about here, exactly. So it's just the Red, it is the Carrot on top. So we do not even have the Totally Awesome, which is like the new main boss monster basically of this deck, because you always end on this as your main interruption on your opponent's turn. So that's like the card that people are feared of when they are playing versus Sprite, because that's the card you have to deal with on your turn. But it's not even there. It's just Carrot and Red for this one.
Just Totally Awesome shaped the entire landscape of hand interactions that are played.
For sure.
Totally Awesome is partially the reason Instant Fusion start.
That's a cheeky little one-off he has there in his hand, and he's actually activating as the first card in his turn.
And you have to negate this. This card generates way too much advantage already.
It's a bit weird though, because Herman Hansson is such a great player. Would he just start off with a card he wants you to negate? Like, it's a bit because you're like, Herman is insane at this game, so he probably would want to keep the cards he actually does not want to get negated for the last action he uses. But maybe that's also another mind game then. Maybe they're mind gaming themselves back and forth, but he did go for the negate there.
So it's actually possible that he did not have anything else to play and he wants the Desires to resolve.
Possibly, but there's also Ash Blossom on the Desires and Called by the Grave.
So Totally Awesome would have been hit by that if it was on the field. So I don't think that he's really too sad that his Instant Fusion did resolve. He's getting the 2 draws. And maybe he can just out this entire field easily.
Yeah. But as I said, it feels a little bit like he used the Instant Fusion there as a bait, right? It was the bait, so Herman Hansson definitely pretty much setting up his opponent.
I love this little mini game that the danger package adds to the game. Now we are going to roll ties and see where this is going. Does he discard the second Desires? This is what you want to hear.
For sure.
This is an angry Jackalope with 500 attack points. This one is going at it in attack position. Herman, are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure. I guess he's using it for something in the rest of the turn. And what are we sniping this time? Oh,
it's Shaden.
Now we're starting.
This is really good. Now we're at it. Nessie is an Aqua monster. This is partially the reason why this package is so good in the deck, because you need Aqua monsters to Called by the Grave.
Whoa. So both players actually open the one-off Called by the Grave, and that's why you want to say why dangers are actually being played in this deck. And I think at first sight it's already pretty obvious, because you are discarding cards for card effects, and the Tearlaments always trigger when they get sent to the graveyard by a card effect, so it pretty much harmonizes insanely good. Well, let's see. So there's now the Nessie still in the field. Nessie, how much attack point does Nessie
was activated,
have?
by the way. 1/6. It's 1/6 and 2/8. I'm pretty sure of that. So this is Nessie got discarded, so he can just search for another danger monster from the deck.
Indeed.
Herman thought he could play with Shaylin, but ring, the Grave Called.
Yep. He was interrupted by the Called by the Grave.
Not happening.
What's that? What is he searching for?
You can just search a different danger, right?
It looks like Mothman, right? Isn't it Mothman?
Yeah.
look like Mothman pretty much.
Mothman with 2 cards in hand is really good if the other one is a name of the Tearlaments archetype, because then you can always discard it even if your Mothman got hit.
Yeah,
Which
sure.
just happens.
Oh,
So both
another
players can
Mothman.
draw a card and discard one via effect. So if there is a Meru or a Heaviness, then Herman will get to start playing.
Yeah, he probably just finally gets to resolve a Tearlaments
It's
attack.
Heaviness.
We have Halfness there. And now we finally see what this new Tearlaments deck is about,
Yeah.
because we are seeing the first effect resolution of the archetype.
And it instantly resolves.
Absolutely. And I mean, we kind of have to explain it a little bit to the viewers at home. Like, the Tearlaments archetype is a fusion archetype, and it doesn't work with polymerization as you would think. And rather, when it gets sent to the graveyard by a card effect, it actually lets you fusion summon from your grave by sending the materials back to the bottom of your deck.
Oh, Sebastian, but it does also work with polymerization,
Of course,
which is
true,
also
true,
an
true.
engine that people are playing. King of the Swarms,
Yes.
one of the oldest cards in the game, is seeing play maybe for the first time actually, and Droplet is hitting the Kid Colors, which is really strong, because the Kid Colors can search a trap card that allows you basically to fusion summon on your opponent's turn after negating a monster effect. There's also one that books the Meta Noise.
Oh, there comes Merly. And Merly, if Merly hits a Tearlament here, that can be very huge.
Goki Pole
That's Goki
searches Goki Pole, and it hits another Merly, and the name has not been used yet. So we can actually chain block it. So no Ghost Spell and Haunted Mansion in the world could stop him from fusion summoning here.
This is insane. Also, Goki Pole is a completely new development in this deck,
Yeah.
let's be honest. Like, why would you play Goki Pole in this?
Because you can just search the Danger Mothman card.
For real, that's actually insane synergy. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. That's a development I really like.
Also, honestly, Mothman is, next to Nessie, I think, the best danger card in the deck, because it is level 4.
Yes.
And with a Shaylin or something else, or Rhino Heart, you can just go to Time Thief Redoer. And Time Thief Redoer is one of the rare Exceeds monsters that doesn't detach for a cost. It detaches via effect when it banishes itself. So you actually get to trigger your monsters. This is also why Herman is playing the Sully in the main deck. Because
sure.
it plays around Dark Ruler with Time Thief Redoer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Herman, really, look at that. Like 5 months, no, 4, yeah, 5 monsters it is actually. He already has on the board. That's always what you see with Danger decks. Danger is just getting spammed onto the board, and that's so different from the Sprite deck. Sprite deck just struggles so hard to actually put up attack position monsters which are actually able to do damage. But here the Tearlaments deck with the actual Danger engine is doing that a lot easier, a lot quicker, as you can see. 5 monsters, easy peasy. And do we see Curious now? I could see Curious
This
here.
sounds like a Curious.
Yes.
He is going to be Curious, and he is going to send the last name of the deck. We have used Shaylin, we have used Merly, we have used Heaviness, and then you can only send...
Oh, Herman struggles a little bit. Maybe he banished something with the Desires. It's Sephiroth. What kind of toolbox is this deck? This almost feels like Lightspawn, just playing all the cool cards that are having good effects in the graveyard. This
Now
is
with this,
insane.
he can mill another 3 cards. Of course, there are no names he can trigger anymore, except for Rhino Heart, which doesn't fusion summon itself. It just sends another card from the deck to the graveyard. But now he has another summon on the field with Zephyros, and is able to end on Topologic Bomber Dragon, plus a summon of Zephyros, if he wants to. I don't know if he has anything to trigger it with, though.
I'm just checking his extra deck, and it looks like he's not even on the Bomber Dragon. It looks like he's rather on the Zero Barrel.
Zeroboros. Oh, he's going for a Splight Elf on his own. And this is actually really strong, because he can summon back the Merly on the opponent's turn. And when Merly gets summoned, it just mills 3 cards. So it's Dante basically again. And if you hit another name, then your opponent is in for a long turn.
Absolutely. But now let's see what Raphael is able to do on his turn, because the deck usually is pretty known for having a pretty good grind game. Sprite is not that combo intensive. It's actually a deck that can carry on to turn 3, to turn 4, and actually do their damage there. But let's see whether he still has a starter or a blue or something.
There is a problem for Raphael, though.
Go ahead.
Sprite, yes, very grind intensive. However, that is also because Ronin Totem in the graveyard is always a free summon on every turn, basically. And he has not accessed this Frog engine yet.
Yeah, maybe it actually is weird for him now that he took that red plus carrot line in game 1, or in turn 1 rather. and he doesn't have access to that Ronin totem. We see his hand, there's I think a Water Enchantress in there.
Which is not bad, because he can search for the Griffin, discard the Enchantress, and search for Rite of Aramesia. And he can't still out the Curious, because the deck is really bad at handling big monsters.
It feels like Alter Guys all over again, because that deck also had that issue.
Had Meadowseek.
Yes, true. But this deck has Draco back if you want to go that route.
Yeah.
But we are using the Water Enchantress pretty much there. And we are searching for... Okay, he was very quick there, but of course he sends the Water Enchantress to the graveyard, then banishes it for its effect to actually search out the Rite of Aramesia. And Curious is 24, so it will be tough to out.
You don't want to out the Curious without OTKing, because Curious, when it gets destroyed by battle or card effect, it just adds back a card from the hand.
Absolutely.
From the graveyard to the hand,
Let's watch this interaction now. We activated Rite of Aramesia. Herman instantly responded by using the Elf effect to reborn Merly, and we chained our Griffin Rider, and we could now potentially just negate the Merly effect on field.
Yeah, but then you destroy it.
Which is also
and then,
not what you want.
And then
right.
Herman gets what he wants.
Yeah, let's see.
Yep. So you just have to wait and hope that he doesn't mill 2 names.
Okay.
Pellerino.
Okay.
Oh, and that is just Havanus, and you can just negate that. Oh! He can trigger the Curious and chain block the Havanus, right? Oh, wait.
So, looks like Herman just announced the Curious, that's for sure. And yep, the Havanus is also resolving. We put back the Kid Carlos, we put back the Havanus itself. So we are again going into our extra deck, and there's Dracostapelia, which will be a big issue here in the long run.
Yeah. Also, he can mill another 3 cards with Curious.
Curious seems insane in this deck, and there we have it. Raphael sees it. It is game number 1 for the machine. Herman Hansson, the Swedish, is once again shining here in the featured match.
Absolutely, Herman is such a monster on the field. I mean, we don't want to take credit away from Raphael, right?
Of course not.
I don't know the guy. He had a pretty rough turn, you know. He couldn't enter his Sprite engine, or he couldn't access his Toad engine, actually. And this hurt his grind game real bad. Also, Herman hit with the melee. He actually made it.
True, true.
He couldn't negate it with Griffin, so a Liga Knight would have helped, bro.
Surely. But let's talk about the general choice of Herman Hansson to go with 0 hand traps and just board breakers instead. Isn't it cool to just have 1 card to draw, like a Dark Ruler or maybe a Super Polymerization, instead of just throwing 1 hand trap and hoping that it is enough? It feels a lot better, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Also, the dangers provide draws all the time. So if you're going second, you can just summon the dangers. Your opponent is never going to negate them. You don't have that many interruptions to negate all the dangers.
Indeed.
And then they would have also fulfilled their purpose, actually.
Pretty much. Absolutely.
So you can just wait until you draw your Dark Ruler or Super Polymerization, which is so much better now since the new set power of the elements.
Oh yeah, that's one of the best cards in this set, honestly.
Garura is a fusion monster that can be summoned by using materials like a monster, 2 monsters with the same attributes and the same types but different names.
Yeah.
And that hits everything.
That will be insane. Yeah, and we see that Herman is on Super Polymerization in his main deck already.
Yeah.
But now another card we saw on his side deck, which might come in here, is very interesting because it's also a card from Power of the Elements, which did not see a whole lot of play lately, though. And this is the Kurikara Divincanate, and it's a in theory an insane card because it actually can just tribute your opponent's negates that he used previously in the turn.
Oh, you don't see the card.
You can't see it in the card highlight. Yeah, but maybe go on and talk about what this card is actually doing, because it's really, really crazy, and he is actually citing it 3 times.
Yeah, so I'm just going to read out the effect.
Sure.
It cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from your hand by tributing all face-up monsters on the field that activated their effects this turn in your opponent's monster zone. Gains 1,500 attack for each monster tributed to special summon this card. During your end phase, you can target 1 monster in your opponent's GUI, special summon it to your field.
Yeah.
So this means that if you can play through interruptions of your opponent, and the interruptions were not Toad, because obviously Toad tributes itself.
Yeah.
You can just summon Kurikara and in the end phase steal your opponent's interruptions.
Indeed.
This is absolutely massive in the mirror match.
And let's see whether it is going to happen. Game 2 about to start. Let's get over to the game again, and let's see whether that Kurikara is coming in here, whether it's coming in clutch. We are going to start off again with Raphael, and Raphael is using Sprite Starter as his first play of the duel.
And I'm going to show you the card again because this is also the face of the new regional mat.
Yes, and it's also a beautiful Starlight Rare out of Power of the Elements.
Yeah, look at this dragon.
Is there a dragon? Oh yeah, there's a dragon. Somewhere there's a dragon in the background, true. Well, yeah, let's see. Is that a card you would specifically side versus Sprite, though? Is that like the main deck you would want to hold that in against? It sounds more like a Tearlaments side in, right?
You can't really make anything of the red or the carrot.
Yeah.
Not that much, at least. They have to tribute a Link or Rank or level 2 monster. But it's like crazy to get like used Millennium Ice Restricts, which is a King of the Swamp exclusive tech card for Tearlaments deck, and Dragostapelia.
Oh.
And now we have the Nimble Beaver. So
the Nimble Beaver.
Rite of Aramesia is done for the day. Or maybe for game 3, but or turn 3 actually. But for this turn, we won't see it.
Absolutely. So that's also a very general discussion that Sprite players are having currently. Which is the best normal summon you could go for? There are several options.
Yeah.
At first, everybody was thinking, hey, Deep Sea Diver is just the best one. It's also a tuner, so we can include Halkifibrax into our deck. That seems insane. Well, then some people actually were switching away from that and went for other cards.
Dark Beckoning Beast, the Sacred Beast engine. It is really powerful. It has so many upside. It has the best value. It is an easy auto-winder.
Yeah.
But you lose 2 smashes. If you play the mirror match and you summon Dark Beckoning Beast, you can add a spell and then add Dark Beckoning Beast again, and then because of your first Dark Beckoning Beast on the field, you can summon it again. But if your opponent smashes it, you have no level 2 and unless you have starter.
Yeah, I feel like the competitive scene was really sold on the Dark Beckoning package, and then after testing it a lot, they realized it's not that great, so I feel like a lot of people actually switched away from that again. But they found the third option, which is really popular at this event, and you just saw it here, the Nimble Beaver.
Nimble Beaver, in theory, doesn't look like it adds anything to the Diva style.
Yeah.
Like summoning another monster, going into Gigantic Sprite, perfect. But Nimble Beaver also special summons a monster from the graveyard. And this is massive, because in long grind games you can always, of course, recycle Nimble Beaver with your Totally Awesome. And you can never go out of beavers, you know? You never run out of it. So you just need 2 beavers in the game, and then you can always recycle them and go into your Link 2 plays.
Yeah.
As long as you still have any.
And I mean, specifically in the Sprite Mirror match, this is insanely grindy from time to time. Yeah. You need that extra working normal summon to actually get you another body onto the board. So I really understand the decision to go with the Nimble Beaver package. And I've seen a lot of Sprite players here yesterday in the 3v3 event, for example, already doing the Nimble Beaver effect, the Beaver package. Speaking of the 3v3, actually, we just saw that yesterday Herman Hansson already pretty much won, or at least went 5-0 in the 3v3 as well with his team, consisting, I think, of Raphael Movsesian and Luke Parks alongside of him. And they were playing this deck there already as well, so it's looking good. It looks like it's putting in work for sure. Oh, what's that? That's the Dark Ruler once again, being slammed onto the table by Herman Hansson here.
And now this impressive first turn does nothing anymore. There are 2 cards in hand and 1 set card. Those are his only interactions. But there are resources. You can still add back a Beaver who is Totally Awesome to play in the next turn. You can still activate Totally Awesome under Dark Ruler to get the add effect. Yeah. So it maybe doesn't get banished or shuffled back. But you still won't negate anything.
Yeah. So we see that Kaleido Heart was milling the Merly. Merly used its effect instantly to fuse into the Kid Carlos there. And now we are going to see whether Kid Carlos, with the mill effect of 5 cards, is going to hit. Oh no, wait, no.
He has to send first.
Yeah, exactly. And then the mill effect will come in later, actually.
Do you think he activated the Merly to fusion summon from hand? Oh, he adds the Merly to hand.
He just sent Merly for Kaleido Heart, so the Merly is done for the turn for sure.
Okay, so... Oh, that's interesting that he added it and now activates a danger, because then you don't want to discard, right?
Oh.
Did he use the Merly?
I'm pretty sure he did, yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah. So he's just using...
he wants to have the mill 8. So he wants to tribute Kid Carlos to summon Merly, and then both of them together mill 8 cards from the deck.
Yeah, so it looks like that was the perfect hit he wanted there, right? He wanted him to hit the Merly, and we're still going. We're still going. Okay, the rest wasn't as impressive, but the first 4 cards already provided everything he needed, basically.
Yeah. The terraforming was such a great move.
Yeah.
You're right, Basti.
Of course. But no, as you said, it's Salik, it's double name, so this is going to be a longer chain that he's forming here. Or is it the same name, maybe?
It's Shailen and Heavenus.
Yeah, it's both different, yeah. So we are actually going to resolve a bunch here.
This deck, by the way, can give you headaches if you play it for too long. This is not a deck for pilots who are unsure about the choice.
Absolutely not. Also, you can get lost in playtesting this deck. Like, there are so many lines, it all depends on your mills and everything. It just pretty much is a feel deck from time to time, because you have to feel out the lines, you have to come up with lines from time to time, and yeah, it will be freestyling maybe from time to time. And I think a player like Herman Hansson is pretty good at freestyling, because he's very good generally in Yu-Gi-Oh! So I think he can afford that freestylish playstyle deck.
And just look at Raphael's face. He is just letting it happen. I mean, what else can he do? He has no interaction with Herman's field or Herman's place at all, and he's just sitting there. Yeah. Oh, Snow even gets milled with Curious, so this is just the extra cherry on top for Herman.
Absolutely. You know what that reminds me of? Herman Hansson back in the day at YCS London playing his Dragon Link combo pile. This reminds me of it, because he's also playing a big combo deck again. And look, that was Kurikara. I saw Kurikara there. For a second, the Kurikara was there.
Yeah,
and
he tried to mill it, but it was the Garura draw.
Yes. There we go.
And, I mean, that doesn't really help anything, because the monsters are obviously not going to activate their effects with Dark Ruler. So I think that's another argument for Kurikara not being the best card in the Sprite matchup.
Yeah. But interesting to see that he still, anyways, decided to side it in, because I'm pretty sure it was Kurikara. Don't know what else it would be. There's Mothman being used. Mothman discarding the Dark Ruler. Also a good discard there, because he already used Dark Ruler previously this turn.
By the way, you can't see it at home, but there's already so many players around the featured match area. We already have so many viewers here in the venue, so thank you guys for sitting here and enjoying this featured match as well.
Absolutely. As Raphael keeps on rolling dice, it's because Herman is keeping on activating.
He's a little sniper.
Danger effects. Yep, for sure. It feels like when you're resolving dangers, it almost feels like you're never stopping. Just danger, danger, danger. It's just very much danger for Raphael at that point.
This is a dangerous game he's playing.
For real. And now there's also that Snow as a resource in the graveyard. And let's be honest, Snow versus Sprite deck in follow-up turns is insane, because your opponent is normal summoning a level 2, which should enable him all of his plays, because he needs a level 2 on board to actually make Sprite work. And then you just book the normal summon and there's nothing to do anymore, if you do not have like Sprite Starter or something.
I mean, that's why you play the Beaver, right? Because it summons another monster, but as soon as there is a gigantic Sprite, you can still book that.
Indeed, you can, for sure.
I mean, there are routes where you can go into the Sprite Elf and then protect your gigantic to be summoned, but you need more for that.
Absolutely. So, there we go. Oh, it was Super Poly set. We're using Super Poly, fusioning away the Mothman, and one of our monsters.
I mean, that's not too big, right? He just fusion summoned away Mothman, basically. And his own gigantic Sprite, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. What was the monster he used? But it was gigantic, you're right.
I'd rather keep that on the field, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, as you can see, Herman easily has access to another level 4 monster, such as the Mothman, because he can use Snow on his own turn, of course, as well. So we are going to Snow here. Banishing 7 from the graveyard, as usual. Summoning out the Snow. And as you can see, you're always going for like spell and trap cards, which aren't doing anything in the graveyard with the Snow banishes, so that you have the useful resources still left in the graveyard there.
And we haven't even seen some players call it the best card of the deck, the Perlerino. The Primal Planet Perlerino, the new secret rare from the new set Power of the Elements.
Show it to us. It's a crazy good card, because it's not only the generic searcher of the deck, that's the first effect, that you can just search for Tearlament card, but also it boosts everything by 500, fusion monsters and also the Tearlament cards. And then the third effect is pretty useful as well. Introduce a third effect.
Of course. As soon as a Aqua monster gets shuffled back into the deck, or extra deck, or Tearlaments monster you control, you can pop a card on the field.
which is what the archetype is all about.
Yeah.
And so this card is
Yeah.
triggering on a regular base.
And this, another instant fusion, by the way.
Ooh.
But Pellerino also is a way to play around Dark Ruler, because if you have the boss monster of the set, the Kaleido Heart,
Yes.
on the field, then you can just pop it and it summons itself back to immediately banish a monster on the opponent's side of the field. So this enables you to basically outplay Dark Ruler no more.
Look, that's also a card we haven't seen in a very long time. That is actually Peacock from the Underworld. That's a pretty generic Link 2, and I'm wondering whether he has any way to actually use the effect, or most likely I would think that it's just a generic Link 2 he's trying to use, which is also dark, which helps the deck in some ways, of course. There you have him, Peacock from the Underworld.
Yeah, this does not look like it wants to use the effect all the time. I gotta be honest with you there.
Absolutely. So he's also going into his own Sprite Elf again now. So we're once again passing on Curious plus Sprite Elf, which, to be fair, doesn't seem insanely strong, let's be honest.
Yeah, but I mean, it basically guarantees a fusion. He also has the Snow in Graveyard, you can't forget about that.
True. Absolutely. The snow is such a dramatic problem, and it's just not going away, because it will always, after it gets cleaned from the board, it gets back to the field, because the graveyard is the useful resource you're using there for the Fairy Tale Snow.
It feels like Token Collector when you're playing Sword Soul.
Yep. It's just never leaving. It haunts you. It haunts you in your dreams, even in your sleep. Even today, after round 1, Raphael will still be thinking about that snow that was in the graveyard of Herman Hansson. And there comes the Nimble Beaver again. That's a pretty good normal summon he has there once again.
Yeah, and I mean, he also has the Sprite Red on the field, you know? So he also still has an interaction.
But Herman, speaking of interactions, also has something. He actually, and for the first time we see this here in this match, has Tearlaments Halfness in his hand, and whenever your opponent is using a monster effect, you can just reveal herself from the hand, special summon her, and also mill 3 cards from your deck, which he just did.
But he didn't hit a name, right?
He did,
Oh,
he did.
he did.
He did, for sure.
Another Halfness, and now he is triggering Curious as well.
Yes.
And he did not even use Elf.
Honestly, it seems so strong to just end on Curious, because Curious just gives you extra mills all the time. It's just, you're milling, and sometimes this deck struggles because it does miss.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just sit there, okay, I resolve Halfness, and nothing happened in the end because I'm just not hitting tier cards.
Oh, he even negates it. Oh, he negates the Halfness, so... Wait, did he chain block the Curious? Does he have to go Curious chaining 1?
I'm not sure, actually. But we are now resolving Merly by the looks of it. Merly is using the Mud Dragon and also itself to fusion summon into... What are we going into here? Probably Dragostopelia, yeah. Would be the most reasonable choice. Yeah, we are going Dragostopelia. Now, look at that. Like, both of these cards usually are only super poly targets. They used to be back in the day, and now they're just the Dragostopelia is just an in-engine card basically for the Tearlament deck, and he keeps on going.
Herman can't stop, won't stop, and that is insane. He first of all milled Shadow Beast with Shaylin to chain block the Shaylin, but he can also just shuffle back the Beast and end on Winder.
Seems like it. Seems like it. I mean, Raphael can still just run over the Winder. Let's be honest, but
fair enough.
That still
the battle phase
takes
gone.
away the battle phase, as you say.
And
but
there is Winder, and he is going to have a draw from the Beast effect.
This is looking good for Herman Hansson here. He's not even taking the draw. Maybe Herman... Oh, he did. Okay. Fair enough, fair enough. So Raphael is also laughing. Look at Raphael. He doesn't even realize what's going on here. Herman is just throwing cards after cards onto him, even though it's Raphael's turn.
Yeah, and Herman is also just laughing. They're both having fun. This is a great show of sportsmanship from Raphael.
Absolutely.
As well. He is definitely not in the leading position, and he's still just having fun with it and with Herman.
For sure, absolutely. I mean, it's a blast, right? Yeah, you have a featured match here at the European Championship. I think that's already an accomplishment. I think you can tell your people at home, hey guys, check back the stream. I am actually on the coverage. And you have like a memory for your Yu-Gi-Oh career, for your Yu-Gi-Oh lifetime, which you can look back to. I mean, you got done by Herman Hansson pretty badly, but still, you had a featured match. And this game is not done yet. But Herman is not done summoning cards on his opponent's turn yet. There is the Fairy Tale Snow again. Holy!
And this Fairy Tale Snow will have to use a monster from the field as well, because this zone is full.
Actually, yes. Herman is using all the monster zones he got. And there it is. We are booking
The Starving Venom
Dragon, which probably indicates that we are in the battle phase, I would think, because otherwise there would be no need to already use that.
Could have just be flipped up.
Indeed. So we have Raphael in his main phase 2 now after running over Sprite Elf, and he sets one more card and we're passing it over again.
And then Herman will draw another Herman hand card.
Let's see how he puts it to use. Because honestly, combo decks usually have the tendency of burning through their resources and then they are left with no
this deck
follow-up.
doesn't.
That's what I wanted to say. Like, you can just recycle all of your cards.
It's crazy.
Because, like, the Tearlaments cards by itself just shuffle themselves back to the deck, and there are more resources then. And you can also shuffle back the fusions you have in your extra deck, so you just replace it all. Yeah, exactly. You just replace it all. You can just do it all over again on the next turn.
There is Kaleido Heart being summoned, so it does banish a card from the field. So it targets the back row. Herman says, you know what?
Look at Raphael.
Right.
Yeah, Raphael showing the card into the camera.
What was
Having a little laugh. It looked like Sprite started to me. Oh, he's playing with the camera. Oh, I love it. I love it.
He has a nimble.
Did he have all the nimble beavers or what?
No, I think it's the nimble anglerfish. That's the German name. Wait, I'm just going to look it up.
Let me see. Let me check his... Oh, yeah, he's playing the Nimble Angler in his main deck, actually. Yeah, we didn't even see that at first. All the Nimble cards for him.
And now there's something important happening. Because the Starving Venom, when destroyed, pops the entire field of Herman.
Which is about to happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Winner survives because it can't be destroyed
and
by
Kaleido Heart could be summoned back. Did he special summon this turn already? Because then he would be under the restriction of Winder and couldn't summon the Kaleido Heart back.
I don't believe he special summoned yet so far. Now the Winder just punches 22, and now it's back to a pretty simple game state, I want to say.
So there was it's crazy that he did not shuffle back the Starving Venom.
Actually, yes.
Oh yeah, he summoned the Kaleido Heart, obviously.
You're right. There was a special summon already, of course. But what can Raphael do now? He pretty much needs... Oh, the Adventure Engine could be helpful here to out that Winder. He's just resolving the Water Enchantress. And let's be honest, we haven't seen the Adventure Engine in this game at all. So he has Draco back and everything still in his deck.
He just really needs to have a normal summon.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise he cannot search for the Draco back, because the summoning of the token is already a special summon, so he is locked out of special summoning here. And with a normal summon he could trigger the Fateful Adventure.
Yeah, I have to say, by summoning the token in defense position, he kind of is indicating that he does not have that, right? Because why would you summon the token in defense position if you would bounce that later on? Wait, is he discarding a normal summon there? He is discarding the Nimble Angler, which we just showed. Which is interesting, because it doesn't seem like he's getting to...
And he can't use the Griffin and trigger it. Oh, he forgot about it.
I think that was his plan.
Oh, no. Oh, Raphael.
That's annoying.
Not gonna lie, rather focus on the game more than on the camera. Common mistake in featured matches.
Absolutely, yeah. Maybe he played with the camera a little bit too much. Now in his opponent's turn, of course, he can still use the effect of the Griffin Rider, because that's during the main phase of either player. So he has a negate set up, and Herman is still locked under his own window as well. There's only one special summon for Herman still. Let's see how he uses it.
Also, the one Dragostopedia that he probably plays is in the graveyard already, in the GUI.
Yeah. And he decides to banish the window for cost for his snow, so he's able to play more if he wants to.
Yeah, and also... Oh, but now he's really going through his resources.
Yeah, the great...
Can this forgetting about Starving Venom's graveyard effect actually cost him the game?
Potentially. Like, he is negating the snow, of course, and there's only one more card left in the graveyard besides the snow, so Herman cannot even attempt to activate the snow now anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, and he changed Halfness. Okay, so he has Halfness. Let's see what he's milling for Halfness. That's Shaddoll Beast, that's Shiren. Oh boy,
Beast and Shiren once again. I mean, he can't summon Winder now, he's just playing one. But there will be... Can you tell us about his extra deck choices? How many fusions is he playing? Like, what can he summon off of this?
Yeah, there's Garura, of course, but we saw Garura in this game already. Then we have the Mudragon. I think we saw that as well, right?
Yeah.
He went for Mudragon as well. And then... oh no, wait, I'm on the wrong list. I'm actually on the extra deck of our other guy. We have Garura, we have Winder, we went through those. There's Mudragon as well, though. Dragostopelia, and then double Kid Colors and one Kaleido Heart. So there's not much left, actually. It has to be Kid Colors.
He only has Kid Colors.
I think that's the last one he has left, yeah.
but there's 4,300 attack points on his opponent's turn side, life points. And now he's sending the Rhino Heart so he can activate it from the graveyard and attack for game, I think.
That should be it, yeah. He's actually going for game here. I think Herman sees the line. Battle phase should probably seal the deal here. Is Herman taking it down here once again in the feature match area? He's still going.
He has Kaleido Heart still in the graveyard. And Herman Hansson takes it down. What an impressive gameplay of him.
And we have a round of applause even here in our hall. The crowd is going wild. Herman Hansson, an all-time fan favorite, because of course, going to Worlds, being so successful at the game, also like always being humble. He's just a very, very great guy in the video community.
Representative for Europe.
For sure, for sure. Absolutely impressive. So, to be honest, we saw Sprite now twice, and that was the first time we saw Tearlaments.
Yeah.
And just judging by the 2 rounds, we gotta say Tearlaments looks really strong, doesn't it?
Absolutely massive. I think this is maybe the biggest contender for the title this year. Not gonna lie. I'm still on another deck. We will see that later. I won't reveal it now, just for some extra tension. But Tearlaments is possibly the favorite. I mean, at the start of the format, people were tending to play more Sprite, but there was a shift. People were playing more and more Tearlaments, and God, this deck is performing.
Absolutely, and I think people needed some time for a Tearlament deck, because Sprite is very, very generic. It is very linear in its combo ways, so you actually can get behind the deck pretty quickly. But with Tear, as we said earlier, it makes your brain melt from time to time, so you really need the time to actually get used to the deck. And people have taken that time. Now they used the 2 weeks to full power, and now they're here and they're performing with the deck for sure.
This is maybe why players decided to add like a higher ceiling to the deck, you know, at the Adventurer package or at the Live Tournament package, because they think, okay, just with like the pure Sprite, I am going to probably lose to Tearlaments if both players draw like equally strong.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so impressive, especially when you saw what he was doing on his opponent's turn. Like, of course, yeah, it's a combo deck which does a good board going first, but going second, he just completely managed to do everything as well.
He ended on no interruption on board.
Yeah. But still, he managed to do so many mill effects on his opponent's turn. Curious, just as a card in general, why did nobody play Curious before?
He ended twice on Curious with Sprite Elf to just reborn the Melee, and Melee mills together with Curious, and then you will find a name at some point.
Absolutely.
Because the names, every time you fusion summon, you just shuffle the cards back.
At some point, there are just names left, right?
This is just names now.
Absolutely, and also the Danger package. I think at first people were like going back and forth on which package to choose. You talked about the King of Swamp package as well. And honestly, the Danger package, though, looks so much stronger. It looks so insane. Like, just getting card effect by card effect, discarding Tearlaments, drawing into your side deck cards. The Danger package is providing so much to the deck.
You can also just search them by milling. You can just mill Goki Pole now and
this as well.
Find a Mothman.
Absolutely, it's so crazy. It's absolutely insane. I feel like this is really the deck in the hands of such a competitive player as Herman Hansson is, for example. And we saw other people already being on that deck as well. This is somebody you have to be really, really scared of when he sits across of you on the table. I think when your opponent is on Sprite, you may be like, I can handle Sprite, but Tearlaments, woohoo.
Especially in the hands of Herman Hansson. I mean, he's definitely a top contender for the title. It would be, I mean, he's also such a nice guy.
For sure.
So
I would say
he would deserve it.
Let's hear more from that nice guy, because we have a winner's interview. Please take it over for our winner's interview here.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. So I am joined by the winner of round 2. Herman, how did that all go for you? Were you confident the whole time?
With my opening hands, I was fairly confident. In my opening 5 game 1, I had called by Desires, so I figure as long as it doesn't establish 2 ways to Omni negates, and when I saw him use the tokenized material, I knew I basically won there. Because my deck is really good at beating Sprite, and it also established the follow-up. So that even when Sprite tries to play next turn, it's really hard for them to get to play. Because you leave Curious on board, that's another card hard for them to clear. Like, Sprite has a lot of issues with clearing monsters that float. And my deck just summons a bunch of them, and they can't deal with the follow-up.
So why did you choose Sprite? Because it's an adventure Sprite sort of thing that you've got going on.
No, that's not me, that's my opponent.
Oh, sorry, that was what the deck list said. So tell us a little bit about your deck and why you decided to choose that one.
So I love Dangers. I went to Worlds in 2019 playing a Danger deck. So when I saw that I could play Dangerous again, I was pretty happy. So this past couple months, I've been testing different versions, and finally have come to a version I actually like playing, and I am confident playing it. It is very, very difficult though, and I still make mistakes, even though I'm months into playing the deck constantly. So yeah, it's very difficult.
And how does it feel to be back at these in-person events? Because you've had a couple of years where they've not really been happening. Does it feel good to be back at one of these? Is this your first ever Euros, or have you been frequenting them before?
I mean, I went to Worlds before, and I've been to every Euro since 2016. And I like the IRL events being back, but I also really enjoyed the remote duels. I took part of all the remote OSCSs, and I actually topped all of them, funnily enough.
Well, that's a good flex, to be fair. Well, congratulations, Herman. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't go anywhere, because we've got plenty more coverage, especially round 3 coming up just in a sec.